Good evening, Top fans. It's Bill from TopFanRivalry once again, doing a little different of a clubhouse tonight. Tonight we're doing ladies' night. Yes. So we had a bunch of ladies that had we're going to join in. We might have some join in the middle of this, but this is going to be a good time. Some of the ladies, including my wife, are a little frustrated that we haven't had the ladies on yet. So we're going to get started tonight with two of my friends, Emily and Cathy. Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Hi. Hey.
Good. Good. All right, so Emily, let's start with you. Who's your favorite baseball team and why are they your favorite baseball team?
All right, so I'll try and make it quick, but my favorite baseball team right now are the Dodgers. Yeah, I grew up in Utah, so I really didn't have a team to follow. So it was really who could I get coverage of, which at the time, the team I could get the most coverage on was the Dodgers. So I followed the Dodgers growing up. Later in life, I moved to Southern California, which you would think I would become a Dodgers fan, but I started listening to sports talk radio and became a Padres fan because I listened to San Diego sports talk radio. So I was a Padres fan for a really long time while they were not very good at all. And then in the process, I got married to a huge Dodger fan. So then the sports talk radio station that I listened to went under and I stopped listening, and I've been converted back to being a Dodgers fan. So long story short, I am now a Dodgers fan, which sounds crazy given I was a Padres fan for so long.
Well, you can understand why they went under if they were covering Padres baseball, right? I mean, isn't that kind of obvious? Isn't that kind of obvious? I mean, yeah. Come on. All right, Miss Cathy. So those of you that are watching this on YouTube, we had some technology issues. So Cathy is with us, but you may not be able to see us. So see her. But Cathy, tell us, who's your favorite team and why?
Okay, so my favorite team is the Angels. I will never call them the Anaheim Angels. They will always be the California Angels. I grew up in Southern California and went to my first game in high school and was smitten kitten sitting on the first base side watching the first baseman, at the time was JT Snow, and became absolutely obsessed with the Angels. Wanted just to do everything about everything with them. So became a fan and has never looked back.
Wait a second. So did you become smitten with JT Snow or with the Angels?
Well, JT Snow kept me coming back to the game. I've been obsessed just with the team in general. I've always been an underdog kind of a fan, and they very much are an underdog in a lot of ways. I take a lot of heat liking them. Kind of comes with the territory, and I'll never turn my back on them ever.
Well, I can confess this, Top fans. I've known Cathy for more years than I want to admit because it makes us feel old, but yeah, she can give it right back. Anybody that can rip on the Angels, she can give it right back in 2 and 3 and 4 folds. So heads up, if you're going to give her a hard time on the YouTube channel, be prepared. She'll fire back, I promise.
Right back.
So good. Well, I remember those days too, because Cathy and I went to the same high school, and I could remember Cathy ditching, well, actually not ditching baseball practice, but when we didn't have practice on Wednesdays, sometimes when we went on Tuesdays, back in those days, those were travel days. And so you can get in the park for like $2 or $3.
Yes.
And you go sit up in the nosebleeds for $2 or $3. By the time the game's over, you're behind home plate. I mean, it was awesome.
Yes. I remember one time going, I don't know, Bill, if you were there or not. I went one time, I know Max, my friend Max was there.
Okay.
And we would, back in the day, they had nets that would go all the way down. I don't know if you remember that, but they would have nets that would go all the way from the top over home plate, right? And we would go up every single time JT Snow was up. We go to the very, very top, the 500. And I would write on a beach ball and sneak it into the stadium every single time. And every time JT Snow would come up, we would hit that beach ball down the net every single time, so it would drop when he was at bat every single time.
I remember raising the bail money for you. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I do remember that net. as a kid, so growing up, I went to a lot of Dodger games and a lot of Angel games, but I remember going to an Angel game one time where Ricky Henderson, like, must not have enough pine tar on his bat, but he flew his bat all the way up, like 3/4 the way up that net, and he got stuck. And I'm like, leave it there until the next day. It's okay. So, all right. So we got an Angel fan, we got a Dodger fan. We may have an Orioles fan joining us here shortly. Okay, so now favorite players. Emily, you start. You have a favorite player, and tell me who it is, and tell me why. And then
favorite player is Turner. And
JT.
Yeah, JT. The reason I like JT is he is like, I don't know, he's kind of blue collar in a way, in that, and what I mean by that is he's the guy that you can count on for typically for a single or a double, like daily. Like he comes to the park, you know, he's good for it daily. Lately, he's had power and he's doing great. But you know, last year he was like the most consistent Dodger that there was every single day.
So do you ever watch that All Access Dodgers thing on the LA Sportsnet LA or whatever?
Occasionally.
So there was one with JT sitting in the dugout for the ring ceremonies, and he's like, who's gonna introduce this person? Who's gonna introduce it? And he's making fun of the guy. So when Cody Bellinger got up to go get his ring, JT's like, go on and hop on up there. And somebody starts laughing and goes, you know, come on, he's injured. He goes, he's got a bad hoof. Let's go. He was awesome. JT is great for the community too. And he is a blue collar. JT reminds me a lot of Dustin Pedroia, from who used to play for the Red Sox. He just shows up every day, laces them up, doesn't even care, right? And off he goes. And so yeah, so there's that. Okay, let's go to you, Cathy. I have a sneaky suspicion I know what you're gonna say here, but you know, go ahead and keep in mind. But keep in mind that there might be kids listening to this, so
very good.
You know.
Okay, so my favorite player is Mike Trout. Been a fan for 10 years. Why I like him, let's see. Not just because, like, I'll take the female part of me out of it. That's children friendly enough. You know what? He's humble. He's a good guy. Obviously, he's putting up the numbers to be. I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest baseball players we've ever seen, in my time at least. But in general, he's a good guy. He's humble. I mean, for somebody that makes as much money as he does, and for somebody that is as good of a baseball player as he is, he's a humble guy. He, you know, is out there. He lived with his parents until he was how old? You know, making a lot of money, and he gives back to his community. He's really, really big on that. He's a guy that when you need a run, he's the guy I wanted to play. When, you know, you want a home run, I feel like the fans scream the loudest. Maybe Shohei's right up there with him, but for the most part, that's why I like him. I mean, he's, like I said, I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest baseball players in my time, and I feel super lucky that I get to watch him. So, confession time. I was sitting with a former Angel, who I'll, since we're recording this, I'll remain nameless, but he was signing a couple of baseballs for me that I was doing an auction for. And it was when Mike Trout, it was his first full season, because I think Mike came up like mid-season or at the end of the season. Yeah. It was the mid-season. Yeah, so he was a mid-season call-up. And this guy says to me, and I quote, he says, Bill, watch this Trout guy. He's probably the best that we'll ever see play. And this guy retired in the late 80s, early 90s. And he even told me, he goes, Bill, I was around. I watched Mickey Mantle on TV. He goes, I played against guys like Willie Stargell. I played against, and he named all these Hall of Famers. He says, but Trout is better than all those guys combined. I'm like, I agree. Oh, okay. All right. So, okay. I mean, I think that he continually gets better. I mean, then, you know, I want to go to the playoffs. I want to see him in the playoffs more than just the one time with Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And I think he's pretty amazing. I tell my kids all the time how lucky they are that they grew up in Southern California and we had season tickets to the Angels, and for them to be able to see him on a regular basis, and he's a good role model for kids, I feel.
Yeah, he is. He's a good, humble dude. He's like JT, good, humble guy. He's a family guy. I see pictures all the time of his wife handing his kid to him before a game, and he's kissing his kid. And I'm like, here's a guy that's going to make $500 million with a B, $1 billion. And yeah, I mean, are you kidding me? Right. And so I love it. I love it. Okay. Two good guys, JT and Trout. Okay, so now let's talk favorite baseball memory. One or two of them that you have. Emily, give me a favorite baseball memory that you have.
Favorite baseball memory, 1988 Gibson's home run.
Yes.
I still remember I was in my parents' bedroom. I was watching on probably like a 12-inch black and white TV, like teeny tiny. He was injured. I remember him coming to the plate. I was like, oh, this is storybook, and then he hits the home run. So that's one of my favorites.
So at least you remember. I'm with you. I remember exactly where I was when that happened. At least you remember it. And so besides the Gibson home run, do you have any other favorite memories? Anything besides for Gibson as well?
Nothing that like where I can, I've obviously got like games that I went to that were great, comebacks that were great, but there's nothing that stands out. I mean, that was huge and monumental. Yeah. So, I mean, otherwise, there's nothing that's like a favorite moment. Okay. A lot of good, a lot of fun, but nothing that's big like that.
So you remember after he hit that home run, Vin Scully, he's running the bases, and Vin Scully says, in a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. Okay, this is a true story. So I used to work for somebody that you know very well, Emily, and Cathy, you'll get a kick out of this. So he comes, he's trying to do a team building exercise with us, and he says, everybody change your ringtones so that when we're walking through the office, we can hear you, we know, oh, so-and-so's phone's ringing, whatever, right? So I go over to our techie guy and I said, can you do any ringtone? And he says, yeah, any ringtone. And I said, so if I record something, you can do that. And he says, sure, why not? So I recorded Vin Scully saying, in a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. So every time my office phone rang for a year, that's what it would say. And nice. Afterwards, he, first time he heard it, he was kind of looking around. He's like, what is that? And I said, oh, that's my phone. Let me go get it. And he goes, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like, you said anything. You didn't tell me, like, you didn't give me parameters. I mean, and he goes, it's a business. And I said, it's totally appropriate. It's after Gibson and his home run. So it was awesome. It was awesome. Cathy, favorite baseball memory?
Okay, so I have a few actually. But
hit it. Go for it.
The top two, I think, if I had to go back and look, I remember in 2002 when we won the World Series, I had just had a baby. So that was my first one. And I wasn't going to take him anywhere, that would expose him, gosh, for me, to germs at that time. I was really, really strict on that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go. I didn't take him. I didn't trust anybody with him, so I didn't go, and I regret not going. But my husband at the time was a big Giants fan, and so obviously with it being the World Series and the Giants and the Angels, it was a big rivalry between the two of us. And so my favorite moment was that game that we won the World Series. I would say that's my favorite Angels moment. And then if I had to guess a more recent one, the one that really hit me was the game that they honored Tyler Skaggs.
Yes.
First game after.
Yes.
And Debbie Skaggs actually, gave out the ceremonial pitch. And it was like the perfect strike, and it was that combined no-hitter.
Yep.
And it was one of those moments that I was there. It was magical. It was almost tangible. Yeah. And I will forever remember that game. I remember where I was sitting, who I was with. It was just, you remember that game being so magical.
So that's actually a perfect one. Now, Emily, we're gonna test this whole JT Snow concept on Cathy real quick. Okay, you ready?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Cathy, how about when JT moved Dusty Baker's kid out of the way during the World Series?
I remember that. I totally remember that. Total hero. It's funny. I see him now occasionally. I'll see him do like a broadcast or something, and it just takes me back to like that whole time. It's pretty magical. I mean, there probably shouldn't be any kids in the dugout for that reason, but it was a different time back then, I guess.
It was.
You know, you live and learn. Hindsight's 2020. So
It was. So yeah, I when you said JT, that's the first memory that I have of the first memory that really sticks out. I mean, he came after Wally Joyner, and I was a huge Wally Joyner fan, even as an Angel fan. I mean, as a Dodger fan, I was a huge Wally Joyner guy. And so JT never really stuck out to me as a first baseman for the Angels. But when he did that, when he grabbed Derek Baker or whatever, Dustin Baker, whatever his name was, and it was just pretty incredible. So yeah,
it was.
Yeah. One of my favorite baseball memories, besides for the Gibson home run, one of my favorite baseball memories, and actually it goes back to an Angel scenario, was after the car accident with Nick Adenhart. You see Torrey Hunter go out and touch the mural that they made of him on the wall.
I remember that.
And I remember thinking, you know, you don't, as a fan, you don't think of these people as human, right? They make all this money. They really don't have problems. I mean, now don't get me wrong. If you're going to pay me $20 million to play a sport, a lot of my problems go away, right? But we're still human.
But then we also get new problems.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're still human. And when Torrey went out and he touched that a couple of times with his hand and he kind of beat his chest a little bit, I thought, okay, it reminded me that the players are more than just these icons, they're human beings too. And so, yeah. Okay, before we start putting ourselves in tears, because I mean, we can talk about this forever. Funniest baseball memories that you have. Emily, funniest baseball memories.
No, well, and this is the hard question, because this is one where I couldn't really come up with like a specific funny memory. I mean, there's always like, you know, birds and cats and stuff running on the field, and you know, like fans that don't catch the ball and do crazy stuff, or you know, I mean, there's a bunch of different ones, but I couldn't really come up with like one that was like, okay, this is like my funniest baseball moment where I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed.
Okay, that's fair enough. What about you, Cathy? Favorite or funniest baseball moment?
It's funny. This is the question I struggle with too. So I really struggle with, okay, is it like funniest moment in baseball where like, you know, you laugh hysterically? That was tough. Or is it like the funniest baseball memory that I have going to games or something I did? I'm pretty crazy at games. So, you know, I mean, it was a tough question. So I'll give you my funniest, I think, for me, is the Rally Monkey. So I don't know if you know this, but like the Rally Monkey was a fluke. So it kind of came out in 2000 as like this random monkey, you know, kind of hyping the fans up, right? In 2000, it became a staple in 2002 during the World Series that year. Right. So it's like for something such a fluke, and the fans go crazy over. So for me, I think that's, for the Angels anyway, a funny moment. Like Emily said, it's like besides the fans doing something, or you know, the mistakes made on the field, or you laughing, or you know, they're funny, but not like ha 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 funny. So I think for me, it'd probably be more just how the Rally Monkey kind of came. It's funny because it wasn't supposed to be
a thing.
The monkey wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a thing.
Yeah,
we made it a thing.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
That's awesome. I've got two that actually all three of them will probably make you laugh. One has to do with my family, one has to do with the Angels, and another one has to do with the White Sox of all people. So the one with the Angels, actually two with the Angels. There's one with the Angels where it was the early 90s and the Angels were playing the Rangers, and a left-handed batter was up, and he hit a foul ball into the third base dugout. And this was before they had the railing, right? And it hit at the end of the dugout. And there was a cop sitting there and like a bullpen catcher and one other person. It was back when they had the big green, like one whole bench type thing. And then the very next pitch, he hits a foul ball into the same location. So the bullpen catcher goes and grabs a glove, right? As a joke. The next pitch, he hits a foul ball into the same location. And the cop is looking at him like, dude, hit it that way. The fourth pitch, he hits it into the same location. And now everybody from the dugout moves all the way over to the tunnel. And they're all standing in the tunnel. The fifth time, he hits a foul ball in the same location, but there's nobody there. And now the fans are laughing hysterically. And I think it was on either the sixth or seventh foul ball. He actually grounded out to, I think it was to Gary DiSarcina. So that's probably the 90s. Number 2 favorite memory, Chicago White Sox. Steve Lyons, who I never thought very much of as an announcer, but all around good guy. Steve Lyons is trying to break up, kind of a bad series and trying to get on first base. So he leads off the inning and he's a left-handed batter and he bunts. And he bunts it down the first base line and he's running and he slides head first into first base, doesn't realize where he's at. He's safe, unbuckles his pants and drops his pants to get the dirt out. Yeah, I'm like, God bless you, Steve Lyons. And he pulls up his pants right away and realized what he did. And I thought, oh, oops, my bad. 40,000 people just saw your sliding pants. And he turned every shade of red, right? That's one of my favorite funny baseball memories. The other one has to do with my family. So my stepdad wanted to take me to an Angel game. And my mom said, no, it's a school night. You can't do it. And see, we understand this. We're all married. You can't do it, right? And my dad did it anyways. And I didn't know that she had said no and everything like that. I didn't find out till years later. So it goes into extra innings and I just want to stay for the whole game, right? And it goes into extra innings and we must have been there till about 11 o'clock. And Don Baylor hits a ground ball for the winning run for this game. And we get home at like midnight, right? I get up for school the next morning. My mom apparently was pretty fired up. I get up for school the next morning. My dad's sleeping on the couch. And I'm like, wow, I wonder why dad's sleeping on the couch. That's weird. Why is he out there? No clue whatsoever what's going on, right? But now when I replayed that memory in my head, I'm like, understand, mom said no, dad did it anyways. Dad got the couch.
Nice.
I hope it was enjoyable, Pops. I had a great time. I mean, the Angels won. I got to see a baseball game. It didn't matter. My dad suffered a little bit, but it didn't matter. So
Great
awesome
story.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. All right, ladies, you guys have been awesome. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay, Emily, how do you think your team, the Dodgers, are going to do this season?
I think the Dodgers, barring any major injuries, should win the World Series.
Oh, okay.
They're super deep. They've got pitching, they've got hitting. The Padres, who were going to be their toughest rival, and there have been some great games already, have been bit by the injury bug and are kind of struggling at the moment. So I don't know if they're going to be able to put up as formidable of a fight as we thought they might. But like I said, barring any major injuries, I think the Dodgers should be able to do back-to-back World Series. Yeah.
And see, that's music to Cathy's ears. I know she's just sitting there going, yes, the Dodgers winning the World Series again. If you look at her Facebook, it just makes her so excited because her favorite team is the Angels and anybody that's playing the Dodgers. So Cathy, tell me, how do you think your team's going to do? And what do you think about what Emily just said? And I happen to agree with Emily, so be nice, right?
Okay. No, I'll be nice, I promise. Okay, so I think, me personally, and I know I say this every year, but I mean it this year, and I really think that it's going to be a freeway series in the World Series. I really, really do. I feel really, really strong. I'm telling you, I'm going to go a little differently than Emily, and I'm going to say that we're going to win the World Series. I'm going to say the Angels are going to win the World Series. This is our year, and it's going to be a freeway series World Series. I'm just going to go ahead and predict it now. You heard it here.
You heard it here. Like, yeah, April 22nd, you heard it here, right? Okay, now.
Barring any injuries, like she said.
Okay, so Cathy, to your defense, I don't know if you've watched it yet, but a couple of weeks ago, we did a TopFanRivalry Clubhouse, and we did predictions, and I predicted the Angels to win the West. But I do think the Yankees and White Sox, barring any injuries, may be in the championship. Well,
Yankees are struggling.
But you guys manhandled the White Sox when they were in town. I mean,
we can't manhandle the Rangers. Apparently, they freaking own us like a Chiefs.
That's true. Every year, too. By the way, ours is the Rockies. The Rockies could be like 10-152, and all 10 of those wins are against the Dodgers. I mean,
it used to be the Padres, because the Padres would be horrible, but they beat the Dodgers a ton.
Yeah. Right now, I have a good friend of mine that's a Cubs or a Reds fan, and they can't beat the Diamondbacks. They lost 5 out of 6 from the Diamondbacks. Have 9 wins this season, and 5 of them are against the Reds.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
it's not pretty.
Baseball's a great game.
Top fans, this has been so much fun. Ladies, will you join me again if we do this again in another month or two?
Would love to.
Okay, perfect. So top fans, please watch this, subscribe, make comments. Love to have you guys back. This has been such a good time, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.